Today, I am taking your requests. What have you asked me to paint? What's driving you a little crazy in watercolor land? And I'm going to get right down to the painting table and try to solve this for you. So whether it's sunsets or sunflowers, we're going to get at it today. Let's do this. All right, sketches. What am I painting first? Oh my gosh, cottage landscape with a fall vibe. You guys are not going easy on me. Ah! Cottage? What is a cottage landscape? All right, you know what? I'm just gonna go to Safari and just Safari that. Cottage landscape. Fall vibe, and let the AI. All right. Okay. But I don't really want to paint a cottage. Do I have to paint a cottage? Do I have to? Yeah, like. Okay, a butterfly warm up right off the bat. Woo! Okay. Oh my gosh, y'all are tough. Flower with a fairy for the love. Oh, Mang. I don't know what's happening. Ooh, maybe I'm going to do this one because I might be able to swing that little cottagey. And this is like clip art, so I'm going to be careful here. But this one's cutie patootie. This one's a little cutie patootie. I'm just going to sketch first with my brush, my 6 round. Come on now. I'm trying to get this to, there we go. Nice scale on that. Okay, so we're gonna, I do love sketching with a brush. I find it feels just as impermanent, which means it gives me a sense of like, okay, I can do this. Like I could adjust these lines as much as I would be able to if I were using pencil, right? Because I'm just using really light watercolor. So yeah, I feel like if the color's light enough, like obviously it is right now, I feel a sense of like, okay. Like I don't need to be nervous about this, right? So I'm really paying attention to angles right now. Let me get this lane in and then I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so I was really like important angles. And you might have seen me kind of do this up against the screen that I'm working from. I was checking the angles of, okay, roof pitch, roof pitch, roof pitch. This angle was important, right? I really wanted to kind of get that strong. And then even this one, this actually needs to be a little, this is more of like a trapezoid there than what I had. I had it more of a rectangle. Let me use a contrasting color so you can really see what I meant. Like this little fence was more of a trapezoid than a rectangle. Now I'm going to get some of these rocky kind of moments in because that's kind of filled in. And then this rocky little bump here, right? And then everything else, I mean, okay, I don't think I have the angle of my road correct. So look at, there's the angle of that right side of the lane. Look at where mine is. I do not have that right. So I need to adjust that. Come back here more. And then I can kind of water down some areas to see how it feels. I think that's good enough. So that is kind of how I kind of attack a scarier, for me, this is a little, you know, out of my comfort zone. I'm not going to lie, right? But then I take that time to sit in the scariness of it, right? And then I can get more free. So we're gonna block in the tree, get a little bit of color down, and then water on the brush, and just keep those soft edges. I'm filling in more tree than is in the inspiration photo. Get some yellow in there. This is all Daniel Smith right now. These are even more softer on the edge. You have to have almost the perfect amount of water on here to get that softness, or else you just end up with too much puddliness, if you know what I mean. Jelly bean. All right, I'm gonna put the trunky areas in later when it's more dry, but I'm gonna go down here and dry brush in. There's darkness here. There's just general darkness. I'm not trying to get any kind of recognizable anything, maybe just a little bit of a hint of something on the fence there, but just general darkness over there. Me going dark early in the painting is actually super helpful for me. Now I've got a lot of this here established in a comfortable, I'm comfortable going dark right now because I have a lot of this established. I am checking myself. You notice I'm kind of tentatively putting in some of the dark areas. I'm going to steal some paint from over here because it's really dark. Now, I think I need to go lower with this. I think it could work even if I chose not to go lower, but I think it makes sense because look how much space there is between the left edge of this house and the corner of that roof. And I think that matches what I've done here. All right. I'm just going to block in some of this. Too much paint on my brush. When you're working this small, and there is, I mean, let's face it, there is quite a bit of detail here. You got to be careful with how much paint and water is on your brush. And if you're thinking, boy, I'm really kind of skipping over that secondary roof line, you bet your butt I am, because I don't think it's as necessary. Like, I don't have to get as technical with that roof line. I don't want to get as technical with that roof line because it's honestly giving me a little bit of anxiety, so I'm not going to worry about it. I do want to start, now I have to be careful. I'm going to get that chimney in there a little bit, but I don't want to bump too much into that tree over here because it's going to explode and I'm going to lose my detail. I am going to soften all of this darkness and kind of start blending it out here into the lane. Blending it down a little bit. I love the white space. I ended up going all the way to the edge. Maybe I can get back some of the white space here. I am a fan with landscapes of preserving white space around the edges. I think it's so much more interesting. But it just didn't happen that way here. Okay, I'm still using my number 6. I'm using the edge of the brush right now. I'm being careful as I'm getting close to that roof line. I don't want a lot of explosion there. And then here I can do, you know, some of that white space preservation and not go all the way to the edge. So I'm going to be mindful of that. Got this taller tree here. And then we've got this lovely, notice how this tree in the background has got, you know, it's definitely got some oranges, but it's got some blue tones too. So I'm going to, and that blueness is helping create a sense of distance. Too much water on the brush there, so I'm blotting some off. Lovely. It's going to come to a nice point. This doesn't feel finished to me in terms of the tree structure, but it's a good place to start. And it may be that I may need to put this to the side, this whole piece, I mean, when I say this, I may need to put this to the side and let it dry and move on to, say, someone's butterfly or whatever. And then we can come back to it. That is going to be how things may work today. But here we be. All right, roughing in. Get some brown in the lane. This definitely's got a fall vibe. Definitely got a fall vibe. Start just suggestion of those windows, suggestion up here. A little bit of dry brush around This is more brown here, but I don't want to get too smudgy too early. Like I don't want it all to start to blend together. So this is where I'm going to stop and let it dry. And I'm seeing wonkiness. This here still isn't quite right. So much so that I'm probably going to go ahead and lighten this while I can. So I'm just going to put a little bit of water and then lift and blot. So while I can, I'm going to lighten this because I'm unsure of some of this area. So it may feel like, oh my gosh, I'm just making everything ugly right now, but it's for the sake of the piece. I'm even going to take this out a little bit. So I can come in on the next layer that's dry and adjust that as I think it's out too far. Like that line is going this way too much. It needs to come down more sharply here. All right, so we're going to let this dry. All right. So what should we do? What should we do next? Somebody said a butterfly, right? I've never been super thrilled with my butterfly skills, I'm going to be honest, but I'm going to do them. I'm going to do it for you, y'all. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it for you, and I'm going to be uncomfortable for you, okay? I'm going to be willing. I'm going to do this weirdo here. All right, let's do, okay. I'm going to try something. I'm going to paint this Batty Boom Baladi here in water. I'm going to paint this in water. I'm going to purposely be very puddly about it. This is where, when I'm painting a butterfly from this angle, this is where I'm like, oh my gosh, can my fingers be Procreate and I mirror this? Can I get the mirror function going here? Because then I'm like, I have to make this symmetrical. And that makes me nervous because my brain isn't very symmetrical. So as you can see, hopefully, a little bit, I am making a butterfly shaped puddle. And when I say puddle, I legit mean puddle, because for what I'm going to try here, and it may fail miserably, I am going to try to do that inky thing because I've been wanting to do that. All right, let's go in here. It's not going to be a symmetrical butterfly, y'all. It's just not. You're going to get what you get. You're going to get what you get. And you don't get upset because you know what? It's human nature. No, it's Mother Nature, and she ain't symmetrical. Listen to me getting all angry. Okay, so I'm painting. That is still bothering me so bad. Having a sensory overload here because the corner of my background paper is hitting my arm in a very aggressive way that I don't like. Okay, are we ready? I'm going to use this Finest Ink Raspberry Sorbet from Tom's Studio. Are we ready? Let's see if it works. Oh, crud. Did not explode like I hoped, so I've got to send out some more. Come on, that was so anticlimactic. Ugh. But I actually like the silhouette, so we're just going to have to move. We're going to have to force some movement. That's actually cool to watch. That's fun to watch. Okay. The nice thing too is that I can now take the brush and edit. This needs to come out a little more. This needs to be a little more there. And we're going to add the black with a pen later. So I'm kind of thinking ahead to that. So these little drips don't really need to be pink because they're going to be black eventually. And let's swoop this a little more. See how you can edit that shape really nicely? When you've got the puddles, it's very, how do I say it? It's very forgiving when you have the puddles because as you're editing the shape, it's diffusing whatever medium is on your brush. The water, the puddle is diffusing it for you. It's very, very satisfying to edit shapes in this kind of puddle format. Anyway, I like this, but again, we need to let her dry. So I'm gonna go back to my cottage core here because believe it or not, she's dry, which is shocking. It's a little bit of watercolor whiplash today. I'm back and forth, back and forth. Holy jeepers. Okay, I'm gonna get in here. Blue and brown mixed together, and I'm just gonna make this a little less, I'm gonna give it a curve and a little less, kind of pulled it in. I changed the angle, the degree of the angle, I guess you would say. My engineer husband is probably cringing somewhere. Yeah, I like that better. So that was a little more dry brush there because I wanted the control of the dry brush in that moment. And now you're like, well, what are you going to do about that really ugly line out there? Well, I'm going to cover it with some watercoloriness that is a little heavier handed, using the tip of my brush and leaving a little margin there so it doesn't. And then I do have to kind of, I'm going to add a tree that's not in the inspiration piece because I need to cover up that line that didn't get completely gone. Okay. I'm just going to carry some of this out. All right, coolio. Let's get in. I'm going to use purple to start building these rocks, this little cute little cottagey rock wall. Okay. And we've got some more down here, which I still want them to be purpley. Still in this is, I think this is going to end up being a whole Daniel Smith thing. Daniel, not Danielle. It sounded like I said Danielle. A little bit of opera rose, a little bit of dirty opera rose there. That was not a very clean dip into the opera rose realm. And then just back to some of the fall tones, blending into that. There's another hint of a tree here, but I kind of, well, I could put it in. Give me some definition on the back end of that house. Sorry, cottage. See how I'm doing that? I'm just cutting in. I'm really fully on ignoring the whole dormer type window situation there because I don't like it. I don't want it. It's making me confused about perspective and I'm just going to ignore it. It doesn't exist. All right. I'm going to remove a little bit of that cleanish water and just kind of pull it back. Okay. Fun. Dry brush, little suggestion of a trunk just for stability and structural sake. And that's also going to define the other end of that cottage. See how that's happening? Really nice. That's okay. I'm happy with that. I need to do something here. Oh, that's my fence. We're going to just put a little wash of a creamy yellow over that area. A little too much. Little wash, and then once that's dry, I'll be able to give that area the detail that it needs to become a fence. Down here, I'm just going to do some juicy dry brush, meaning there's a lot of paint on my brush and not a lot of water. So I'm getting a lot of really distinctive coverage, and then I'm going to go and soften the inner edge of that. See how I did that? I can kind of interrupt the lane a little bit too if I want, or not. You're working. It's a push and pull. It's a push and pull. I actually think what could be really pretty, we might need some spatter down here later on to just kind of soften that transition. This, you could tell, this was done in Procreate. This inspiration, the image that I'm working from, this was absolutely done in Procreate. Just the way those edges finish. There's just a lot of cues that say to me, Procreate, Procreate. Nothing wrong with Procreate. I have got no issues with Procreate, but I'm basically mimicking, you know, computer-made brush strokes with handmade. So, anyhow, this got a little narrow here, so I'm going to lift out some of this. Okay. And then I have to decide, like, where do I want to get more detailed and where do I want to stay less detailed? And actually, now's a good time to just get, it's too dark, just a little bit more brown into the house so I can put my last layer of those details. So the last layer for me, I think for this painting, and there's a lot of ways you could take this, but right now we're in the smudgy ugly stage because this is our base layer. The last layer, once this all dries, so I'm going to put it to the side again, will be to just get in there. I'm going to focus on tree trunks, right? Detailing in the rocks, detailing in the fence, and a good amount of detailing in the house. And then I'm going to be out. Yep. So again, putting this off to the side. My butterfly is still not ready for her black detailing. So you can kind of see that puddle. I don't want to move it too much or I could have a situation. So what's next, sketches? I need my third request. What's next? Today I'm using Fyess watercolor paper. I have really been using Fyess a lot because at the rate I've been painting lately. Aubrey's mom requested the Plumeria. I want to see a teapot with a floral design. Okay. Anna said, when you paint with a palette with all those colors, how do you track which ones you use? I don't. It's very instinctual. I don't track. I just know that I'm going for an orange or a yellow or a more yellowy orange, you know, so I'd be kind of down here, or if I want a warmer, you know, reddish orange, I'd be up here. But I'm not like, okay, I have to use this one again because I used it up here. I have to repeat it down here. I'm not doing that. Magenta and purples in the Plumeria. Okay, let me get a Plumeria up. Oh yes, this one calls for a dagger. Where are you, my half-inch lovely? Seriously, where are you, half-inch dagger? What the heck? Where's my half-inch? Well, let's 3/4 inch it then. Trying to see where I'm at here. Why am I getting so much creaminess on this brush? I don't want creaminess. I'm just going to use this ink then. Aubrey, what was it? Magenta and purple. Thank you. So I'm using kind of a downstroke. I'm using ink, so we're going to get intense coverage quick. Put a little more water on my brush and come in. And then I'm gonna flood with water to one side and then sweep. So a little bit of flooding, and then now we're sweeping and lifting just to get some interestingness. My Opera Rose in my Daniel Smith palette is very, very empty. All right, we're just gonna keep building that kind of situation. I really want to double dip, but I'm using ink, so it's a little tricky. And then very quickly, and so now I'm just letting the brush lead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 petals. 1, 2, 3. I'm letting the brush lead. There's a distinctive overlap. So when I lay down the brush, I'm letting it make the stroke it wants to make. And then if I need to edit a little, I go in like I am right now and edit, right? Okay. Now, quickly, I need white gouache. I don't want to go acrylic, so I hope I have some white here. This tube of white has dried out so bad, which is odd because it's a new tube, so I got to get in here. All right, so I didn't save my whites. I rarely save my whites. So I'm going to put them back in with gouache. Yeah, I went into the back end of that tube and just opened her up. And we're going to do a nice clean one-stroke swipe. Now rinsing my brush very well, reloading the white. And this is where you can start to define those overlaps, right? Rinse, reload. That white margin on the edge of a plumeria is so distinctive, and that's really what gives a plumeria its plumeria-ness, if you will. All right. We can intensify that later with a really thin, but thickly applied line of white. But this is just to start to give us that feel that we're after, that comfort that we need, that we're on the right track with what we're painting and how we're painting it. And then a really small suggestion of a center. Boom. Okay. Now, this is ink. The nice thing about this ink is that I can still lift this particular brand. Nicole, are you here? Some of these inks that I'm able to lift, what is the difference? Like, I find that this particular line from, what is it? Tom Studio is somewhat liftable, right? But some are not. I'd love to know why. Why? Now, we're going to let that dry because we need more depth on that. Now, I want to try the ink. The ink, am I thrilled with the result the ink gave me? Not 100%, because it was too much coverage and it didn't let me lift as much as I wanted to. So now I'm going to go in. I'm just scrubbing out what I can that's left of my Opera Rose and using the fuchsia from the Art for Joy's Sake palette. Okay, they're not that round on the end. And I'm gonna give myself a lighter watercolory base to start from, okay? But this is all still gonna work. This is gonna still work, and I'm gonna show you how. Now this painting is gonna be nice because it's not gonna require me to necessarily stop and let things dry and da-da-da-da-da as much as the others. Okay. And then we are going to bring the center together because that's another very distinguishing quality of a plumeria is that center is almost non-existent. The only reason you know there's a center on that plumeria is because it's a convergence of the 5 petals and there's shadow, right? Does that make sense? It's not, this flower is more about the petals more than anything else. It's about the petals. All right, I'm gonna go acrylic, high flow, 000. And here's where the magic's going to happen. We're going to do some linear on these white edges that I roughed in, wet on damp. That's why this white that I added with the gouache looks so diffused, is because I added the white into a damp area. But now it's dry and I'm going to get dimension. I'm also using acrylic, which is a heavier body than gouache. I'm going to get more dimension. I'm exaggerating the existence of these fine lines compared to what would actually occur with a plumeria, but it works. It's giving us that visual punch and, more importantly, or AKA contrast. You see how that flower all of a sudden pops. Okay, so, and now do notice though, we are getting a blend because the white, as the friction of my brush goes along, I'm picking up pink. So I'm still losing some of that punch, but I'm okay with it. And we're gonna keep going. I'm gonna try a little bit of a different way over here, just so you can see there, you know, there's so many different ways. I always talk about, like, if you've ever used Adobe Photoshop, there's so many different ways, as my dad would say, to skin a cat, which I never understood that colloquialism. Why are we skinning cats? But anyway, does anybody know where that awful colloquialism comes from and why? See, this is what I was raised with, these colloquialisms, and then they come out of my mouth, and I've learned that some of them are really not nice. So, no one would actually skin a cat. Okay, I need to stop saying that. All right, still 000, still acrylic here. The page is damp, but I'm getting in those detailies. I know, the pops of white are nice. Okay, now, Plumeria leaves are beautiful, shiny, intensely green. So we're gonna get some of those in because they're gonna start helping us feel really good about what's going on here. You know what I always say, paint in a way that keeps you wanting to paint. Whether or not the rules say you should do a thing at a certain time, paint in a way that keeps you wanting to paint, keeps you inspired. So basically, I'm doing big sweepy strokes. I'm gonna talk through it on this third one that I'm about to do, even though I don't have really good space. I actually think I want it down here. So sweep and curve around that petal. Do another little one until you're right up next to that petal, and then come around here and curve the opposite way. Oh shoot, I'm almost off camera. Sorry, y'all. Okay. Now, that one got really, really paint heavy, so I'm gonna repeat with a wet brush, sweep, blot, sweep again, blot, get more clean water, sweep, blot, sweep again. There we got back some of our highs and lows. I'm gonna do that up here because this got really paint heavy as well, sweep. But when you're lifting, I always find it super helpful to lift in the direction of your stroke. Don't just lift willy-nilly all over the place, right? Now, this is a great time to go add a little bit of like a yellow, give it like a really sheer yellow, like blot a little bit, and then yellow it. And look at that glow you get by going over it right away, okay? I don't even think I need it down here except to cover up my little fingerprint. Okay, all right. We need a third Plumeria, just a hint of one. And then I'm gonna do some, I'm probably gonna do a leaf just to connect things here a little bit visually, compositionally speaking. I'm gonna do a little bit of a red on top here because the center looks more red to me actually in the inspiration photo. Let me show you quick. Try to zoom. Yeah, I'm good. Yep. Now I purposely left out the glowy yellows. I purposely left that out because I wanted the pinks and the, yeah, to be more obvious. So I felt like the yellow would pull from that. Okay. Now, I've got splotchy watermarks, splotchy cauliflowering, the beginnings of intense cauliflowering, but I like that. You may not. If you don't like cauliflowering, okay, you can go in, clean-ish water, light pressure, circular motion a little bit. Keep it pretty wet at this stage, and you can blend that out. You may need to blot, blend. Ooh, I picked up a little bit of that red, and you can smooth that back out. I'm just not a fan always of trying to make it super smooth, because sometimes in the effort of making it smooth, you actually disturb the surface of your paper so much. Anywho, now we've got an opportunity here. This petal is wet, so why don't we dab in a little bit of opera. I also had a little bit of red on my brush, right on the edge. Okay, now watch. Magic. Do you believe in magic? Wet stroke right next. So this is contrast contrast detailing right next to that stroke to blend it out. And look, you've got gorgeous dimension. Let's do that in some other spots because I'm digging it. A little bit of opera rose, a little bit of red. Let's do that here. Little stroke there. Okay. Rinse. Just an FYI, y'all, my water looks gray. I just want you to know what we're working with here. I did not have time because of our weird start. I did not have time to get new water. So just know, just let it be a PSA. You can still do pretty things with dirty water. Now remember, this was an inky situation, so I would love to be getting some more lifting ability here. Oh, I can give a little. Oh, okay. I'm getting a little, but I'm preserving that line there. And we're just gonna go ahead, bracing the paper with my pinky. I want to get a little definition again, since everything is damp. Little definition on the bottom side of that. How are we feeling about it? And friends, you can also subscribe. We are doing weekly, we're calling it What's New in Watercolor Land. We're so behind the times, but we're doing a weekly email to our email subscribers, and they are super fun. You'll get reminders in that email. If you subscribe, you'll get reminders every week of a link to the most recent YouTube video. You will get information about where else I'm going to be live. Every week I give you some type of look what I found on the internet that's inspiring. So yeah, definitely sign up for that. You can do that in the description. Mom loves it. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Let me figure out that little hint, and I'm so excited because then the butterfly is going to be, the other two paintings are going to be so ready, and I'm so excited. So excited. I actually want to just soften this. I'm lifting a little back and forth, because this is all watercolor here. Notice I am not blotting with a paper towel. I am not a big paper towel blotter type of gal. All right, look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Just from a little bit of lifting. All right. It's about to get fun up in here, y'all. Just wait for it. Wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. All right, just a hint of another little BB there. Another little baby petal. Little lifting, just to slow some of that. But then look at me going back in. This is the push and pull. Like you lifted, but then you added more color back in. I know, because it's fun. Opera rose, boom, boom, boom. Okay. We need intense. I am going to make a little bit of palette sludge, blue, green, all the opposites on the wheel, y'all. All the opposites. We need sludge. Let me show you why. I'm going to go in here. Now things could still be pretty wet up in here. So be careful, especially with what I just added. So even try to keep a nice thin margin. The margin of white does not need to be even. Okay, be really careful there because I know that that is wet and I don't want the explosion. Okay, now I'm going to do a little something here. Just a hint of a leaf, like some other type of plant is kind of invading the Plumeria space. And this is going to give us some beautiful contrast. Any questions as I'm painting? You're like, wait, what's palette sludge? Like, ask me. So I'm adding this primarily because I want punch. I want power. And I'm strategically placing the punch and the power. I'm going to lift up. I made a puddle of sludge, and we don't need so much of a puddle. Now I know this is dry, so I'm actually going to get rid of the margin because I would actually like to edit these shapes a little bit more than I want the white margin. I want punch. I want contrast. So the sludge is helping me. You see how I did that? You see how I carved into that? Look at that. Oh, I hate when it does that. It just all of a sudden changes my angle. You see that? That power you're getting from just adding that really cool, yeah. Now we're gonna come over here, let the paint run out, just some visual kind of relief from the super intensity of that color everywhere else. We're gonna lift some of this to also relieve us of some of that intensity. Same thing over here. And then I'm gonna carefully lift a little bit in here. And carefully, because you see I kind of ruined my beautiful line there. So I'm gonna get out of there and stop fussing. Okay. Ooh. Now, liner brush. I'm getting into this one. Liner brush. And Opera Rose. Oh gosh, I need a new tube of Opera Rose. Ay. Getting in there. Okay. Liner brush, Opera Rose. And if you look closely at a Plumeria, there is a lot of linear loveliness going on. So I'm going to add it. And I'm going to add it and add it. And these are really thin lines. I'm holding the brush very far down, and I'm going to lift this up, and hopefully the camera is going to capture that right there. See that? What paint color and brand are the dark blue leaves? Seriously, I grabbed from my Art for Joy's Sake palette the blue and the brown and the more emeraldy green, and then I grabbed indigo from Daniel Smith and mixed it. You can do it with literally any brand. You just blues, browns, greens, you're golden. Just a lot of paint, not a lot of water. A lot of paint, not a lot of water. This is where the liner brush shines. I've always been a fan of like linear detail, you know, exaggerating its presence. Yeah. Fun. Going in between some of that white with the Opera Rose. Look at that. Now your punch is happening, my friends. This one got a little weird, so I'm gonna actually do a little bit of that color there. Go in between the whites, which actually turned into pink because the white acrylic was picking up the pink underneath it. Isn't that so cool? But adding that Opera Rose brings it back to life and makes it punchy. All right, I'm going to add a little bit of that sludge to the very center. A few little dots and dashes of the sludge emanating from the center, just to give a little more definition at those intersections, but don't heavy-hand it. Don't heavy-hand it. All right, last but not least, liner brush into some type of darker green. I don't want to use the sludge from the darker leaves because I just think it would be too much, but I want to get some detail in here in these glossy leaves. So we're going to get some veins in here, and then we're going to do some white highlights because Plumeria leaves are glossy. Glossy. All right. And then I'm going to change my color up here because this is really light, and I'm going to do less. I'm going to definitely do less up here, but I still want to do some. Maybe I'll go yellow. I think that could be a nice little subtle shift. Yeah, just a little, okay? And then I'm not going to do anything there. And then we're going to just get a little, yeah, we're going to do a little highlights, little shine with the white acrylic, little shine. There's your Plumeria. Actually, you know what I want to? I want a little shine in that center, even though it's really not there, but I think that makes, woo, I like it. How we feeling? Aubrey's mom, how we feeling? Do we like it? I like it. There it is. I'm actually excited for the idea for these to be on Palm Street if somebody wants to pick them up. I love that. All right, let's go back to, Butterfly. Now, I'm going to get me a Sharpie. I'm going to go simple. And we're just going to head in there. This is the Sharpie brush, pen, marker, whatever. And I like that because it's pressure sensitive, so I can do fun line quality, right? And we're going to just start working this out. I am looking at my inspo. One thing I'm noticing is there's kind of a very straight line that's happening. And that's kind of falling. It's okay. And then we're going to come down and eventually fill out right to that edge. You can edit here and get kind of that ruffly edge that you see. And then once you're happy, go ahead and complete that edge and fill it in with the black. Come back, kind of like a side back stroke, I guess, right? Am I following the inspiration photo exactly? Heck no. No, friends, I'm not. But I'm using it as a guide because it makes me feel a little more capable, comfortable, whatever you want to call it. I'm just going right over that center. All right. Now I'm going to come out here and this kind of pops downward. Fill that in. Edit the shape as needed. And here, just do you, boo. Just interrupt that magenta in any way. And then down here, there's a lot of like ruffliness. So I'm going to expand on that. You see that? And this is almost like an ink blot situation. A lot of ruffliness on this right edge. A lot of ruffliness down here. Like it almost looks like little, I don't know, like little butterfly pimples. But this is definitely a you do you boo moment, okay? And the same thing. Now you got your mojo on. So you're just going to, okay, there's black here. Follow your inspiration photo. Black up here. Feeling more confident. Get that ruffle in. A little bit of ruffle, right? A little bit of ruffle. And then come in, kind of looking at your, I actually kind of have the angles wrong of the way that this black interrupted the butterfly over here. But I don't care. It still works. The angles are a little off compared to the inspiration image. But who cares? Who cares? And yes, we're going to get the liner brush out and do some of the real thin stuff that's on the inside of the wings. I love these Sharpie brush markers. I used them in a live a while back. And they are so fun. Okay, step back. You can always add more black. You don't have to finish it all right in this moment. I'm going to put the little antennae in with a thinner. This is my Pentel sign pen. I did a little pink here. It just kind of bled into it, so I'm going to have to adjust it. It's a little thicker where the antenna meets the head, so I'm just trying to make it work. I'm going to do a little off-center kind of asymmetricaliness. I actually can do this part with this Pentel sign pen because it's so thin. Little line, little, this is like it's like a teardrop, to be quite honest. And then emanating from one spot, I'm going to add a few of these, but it's all emanating from this one spot. Okay. I'm going to do another little ovally teardrop. That's how I'm interpreting what I'm seeing in there. And then emanating out from that teardrop. So it's a little more spread out, but it's still kind of got that like sun ray type of, you know what I'm saying, sun ray pattern. Emanating from that bottom edge of the oval. There we go. There's a little, it's like a little dot up here. That's kind of fun. Love that. I'm gonna add that. This is so fun. So fun. I'm gonna make the body pointier down here, just for that added touch of nice detail. Sharpness really helps visually. And again, we're asymmetrical, but it's okay. Some of these lines look a little thicker to me, so I'm going to go ahead and do that down here. All right, y'all. Now you could have a blast. Like you could go in here now with like, in fact, I'm going to do it because I'm feeling it. Going in with this light blue from Daniel Smith, pretty heavy on my liner brush. And I'm going to add some other colors for funsies. Oh yeah. Like what if we filled this? Should we fill it? I'm gonna fill it. I'm gonna fill it. It's more opaque. We'll see if I like it. But I'm gonna fill it. Oh yeah. And that black Sharpie is releasing its blackness into the space, which I don't mind, but just be aware of that depending on what you're using. Love that blue. I'm gonna hold it up more because, oh gosh, we keep losing our sun today. It's getting like stormy looking outside. So it's making it a little harder for you to see the color and the detail here. And then I'm gonna do some dots on the black. We're making up our own species of butterfly, but I am going to be careful to get some symmetry, a little bit of symmetry. Oh, this is fun, y'all. I hope you try this. I am totally fine with how this is asymmetrical, so I'm not going to try. You could go in with your black marker if you like symmetry and try to make this one longer, right? And put a little bulbous thing on here, but I don't really feel the need for that, so I'm not going to do it. And then maybe a little kind of like curvy, like let's get a sense of the girth of the butterfly here. Yeah. Oh, I like this. I was not really excited about doing a butterfly, but I like it. A little bit there. Oh, that's thicker there. I actually do want to change that. I want to do thicker over here. Are we having fun, friends? If we're having fun, go ahead, give this video a like. Sorry, I had the brush in my mouth. Go ahead, give the video a like if we're having a good time. Okay. All right, I think we're going to stop there. Or should we put gold? Do we want gold? Let me know if we want gold. I kind of want gold, so I'm like getting ready. I'm getting ready for the yes. I'm getting ready. Yes. Okay. Thank you, Misty. All right. Gold, yes. All right. I don't know if his eyeballs would actually be facing this way, but whatevs. It is today. I'm just going to add some linear details in some of these sections. Still kind of keeping an eye on general symmetry. but not getting so like up in arms about it that it would prevent you from enjoying this, because I need you to enjoy this, y'all. I need you to enjoy this. We're going to go back to our cottage, get that wrapped up. All right, there she is. Love it. Butterfly. Oh, thanks, Meg. Oh yeah, and we need the teapot. So we're gonna go back to the cottage and then I'll do the teapot. I know that was requested. These kind of match. So fun. Okay, let's see if I can bring this baddie home. I don't know. Not feeling as confident about this one. I'll be honest. Actually, I'm going to do 000 to get a little more precision. I had the number 2 in my hand, but I'm going to do 000. I'm basically going to sketch, except that that's not going to hold a lot of paint. Define those windows. And the lines are simple. You know, the lines are simple. There's like a little, I don't know what you would call this. Like maybe this is actually like a cabin built with, you know, cabin-y parts. I'm going to eliminate that window up there because I can. And these look like shutters. I like to exaggerate the angle on the shutters so they look like they're swung open, you know, so a little angle on the top and the bottom. And this is like bushes here, so we can soften this edge and then add a little water and blend it down. And give a little definition to, oh, I need more paint on my brush. I'm thinking. I really, like, now I'm like, I want the challenge of putting that stupid thing in. It's actually curving up. Putting that dormer in. I want that challenge. Give it to me. I kind of wish this like roof had moss on it, right? That's definitely not right, but that's okay. We're just gonna get rid, and we're gonna soften this because I don't mind that darkness there. We're just gonna soften it, and then I'm gonna, so remember I was going to firm up details on the house as our focal. I was gonna firm up like trunks and things like that. Triple zero, I'm definitely feeling. I like that I chose that. Okay. And then let's get our fence in. I'm almost using my brush right now. I'm sorry, friends. I'm not looking at comments. I'm almost using my brush like I would a marker right now, if I'm being honest. So just keep that in mind. All right, little firming up on the fence. Little darkness there. A little something on the windows to make them a little more there. A little more of that, and then I'm just going to make the edge, the outer edge of that left side of the roof very, shall I say, uneven, kind of crotchety roof. Crotchety roof's edge. And then backfill. And then there's some really intense stuff coming down here, defining that area there, adding that in, and then contrast detailing it backwards and blending it out. Okay. And then we're going to define the rocks a little bit. I'm mixing a little bit light blue into the sludge and then just coming down and starting to carve out rocky areas. Even pulling down some of that red. And at this point, I'm not even looking at the inspiration photo. I'm just making some cross-hatchy marks, just some bouldery, like soft. These to me don't look like craggy boulders. They look like really soft boulders. So I'm just, yeah. Fill that one in all the way. Maybe I'll fill one in here all the way so we get a nice punch. All right. Still not looking at comments, friends. Thank you for bearing with me. I am out of my comfort zone. So when you ask me to be out of my comfort zone, a little bit of water to blend. And I'm still using the 000 because I'm liking the control. Okay, and then down here, it's a little more, I'm going to go into the Buff palette from Sisters Ink, build up some opacity, and use that to define some of these rocky moments. Okay, I'm going to go to a bigger brush now. Down here, it's a little bit more painterly. And then the intensity of color is towards the bottom of this, just to give it some. So I took some of the sludge, from the Plumeria painting, and I am carving in upwards into that little rock cluster where it meets the lane. Just a little bit of that. All right. Yeah. A little bit more, just some texture over here I think would be fun. This tree I added, so I don't know. Do I want a little bit of detail on that? Sure. Now I'm going to go in with my brown sign pen to get in a little more intensity into these trunks. Carry this one down all the way. And remember, where a branch branches out from a trunk, it's going to be thicker where it meets the trunk and thinner as it goes outward. That's going to give you a more natural look. A little bit of that action over here. This is where the trunk starts. It's thicker, and then we're just going to come up a little. I like this. I really like the sign pen for this because I'm getting precision. I went into that wet area a little bit. Again, just a little hint Anywhere else out here maybe? How are we feeling, friends? I have not looked at comments. I'm going to use the sign pen down here a little bit to continue to carve out a little bit more into this rocky area. I'm just being very well aware that there's not, none of these rocks are super defined. They're more defined up here, for sure. Way more defined up here. The ones in the foreground are not. And I think that is to keep this being the focal point. The house, that is, the cottage, sorry. A little more definition on the edge of that roof, both sides. A little bit more definition here, and I'm just going to add texture and forget about all the windows. And I think we're near to where I would stop on that, at least for now. This is one I might have a little think on, come back with fresh eyes, you know, in a day maybe. I might come back on this a little. I am going to do a little spatter though, I'll tell you that for sure on this one, because I've been thinking spatter, more water on that, since the beginning on this one. A little bit in the sky, and there we have it. But yeah, I would come back to, this one I definitely wouldn't call finished. I'd come back to it and think on it, but that's where we've landed. There we go. There we go. All right, I think I have time for one more request. One more request. What would it be, Sketches? What would it be? You've been seeing all these. Tell me. Oh, the teapot. That's right. I got to do the teapot. Yep, never mind. Oh, good Lord. Y'all are challenging me today. So hard. I'm going to try to do this one from memory. I want the challenge. I want the challenge. Okay. Enough with the weird accents, Christy Rice. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Could be very whimsical. Teapot. I'm a little teapot, short and stout. That's me, short and stout. Here is my handle. Here is my spout. Okay, it's like Alice in Wonderland teapot. When I get all, what is it, steamed up? I think it's steamed up, yeah. It's a little more genie. It's given like genie in the bottle. I'm a genie in a bottle, baby. Come, come. But, you know, come on and let me out. Sorry, y'all, I'm not teaching this one. Sorry. Get a little flower action started. A little flower action. Just having fun. This is like a chunky teapot. This is a wonky. I just looked up at the screen. Oh my gosh, it's so wonky. It's okay. Here's a little, you know, gotta see it through. Little lid hanging out downtown. All right, let's do the Palm Street style and get the pen out and just go all in on the expressiveness. You know, those teapots have like those curvy handles with the little embellishments. I kind of want to do some of that. I think that's fun. That could just be a wall. Make that a wall back there. Okay, okay. Beauty and the Beast. Yeah, a little Mrs. Potts action here. Yeah, it's kind of got that. That is a very snooty spout, right? That feels very snooty. I had to go loose, y'all. I had to. You all had me in the serious, like, crazy, for me, detailed land. I couldn't take it. I had to go loose. Okay. Fun, fun, fun. Give me another one. I'll keep going a little bit. Sorry, I didn't teach that one. I know. I'm fully aware. I'm fully aware. I kind of want to do, well, let's see. Yeah, I need to get, seriously, I've never been this low on Opera Rose and not be able to like immediately refill it. Like never. Jeez, it's very unsettling. Nope, that is not the bullet nib. Nicole, I know you're cringing seeing me dip right into that bottle. I'm sorry. Y'all make sure you follow up with, at the time of filming this, Shuzi, our next collaborator in the challenge, the YouTube's biggest art challenge, using Mariah Elizabeth's Create This Book. Shuzi Art has her video out. How many have seen it? How many have seen it? Because it is so adorable. I am so... she's got me thinking about, you know, painting characters like nonstop. Like I can't stop thinking, won't stop thinking about it. Anybody else see Shuzies? Anybody? Because it was super cute. She did a tree. I gave her the challenge of create a tree house. I'm so glad I did. And then she did, I think it was sketch a place you'd like to go, and it was really cool because it was like this. It was almost like a time trap, not a time, well, like a teleportation type thing. It was really nifty. And I use nifty when I'm really excited about something. I don't use nifty when I'm like, oh, it's all right. No, it was really nifty. Okay, I actually kind of dig the teapot. You're short, you're stout, you're cute. There she is. Do, 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 boop, boop. Don't paint Christina Corner, right? This is Fyess paper, Fyess. And yeah, I love the treehouse too, Tammy. And it's in my, thank you, Nessa, in my Amazon store, which is linked in the description. It's under, I think, budget watercolor paper, but it's 100% cotton. It does definitely have some sizing inconsistencies, but they're few and far between in my experience so far. And I am working through my second stack of 120 sheets, and I've probably had 6 or 7 sheets that had a pretty obvious sizing weirdness, but that's pretty good odds. Shoesy art, Shoesy. Let me type it in. Shoesy art. I don't think I can tag her, but I'll try. No, it won't let me. Shoesy art, which is so annoying. Like, YouTube, listen, let us tag people in the comments section for the love. Yeah, come on now. Don't be silly. You also can't tag them in comments on static videos either. I don't get it. I don't get it. Soup's annoying. Okay, what do we got? What do we got? I'm waiting for sketches to tell me what's next. But while I'm waiting, I'm going to do dealer's choice. What do I want to do though? Oh, good Lord. I don't know what I want to do. I think I need a nap. All right, I got cosmos growing right outside my window, so I'll do a little cosmo. Not with that brush though. We're gonna, oh, there's my 1/2-inch dagger. Okay. Do a little cosmo, bright yellow. I want some fluorescent too, but I gotta clean out my fluorescent is a mess. You want a rose? All right, I'll do a rose instead. Okay, I do roses a bunch of different ways. Have kind of a backward C, grab a different color, forward C in proximity, rinse your brush but not thoroughly, and do some more C's with varied pressure. Look at that, and wiggle, light press, deep press, wiggle, let the paint kind of go dry brush on you. Notice I haven't reloaded. Okay, now I'm gonna go blue because I've been loving this blue. I'm going to go around, do some more of that with a different color. I'm gonna go do a little bit of that here, the different color over here. And then you're color bumping, so you're gonna get some of that cuteness, right? Get a little purple going. I want a little petal going upwards there. Upwards-ish, I guess. And then one kind of down here. I love to mingle sketched areas of the roses with actual like filled areas. Does that make sense? Like this is filled, this is sketched, right? This is kind of turning into a 3/4 view facing like a 3/4 forward. So how can I push that? We're gonna do one down here that kind of curves in like this, right? And then Watch how I add the detail, kind of a radiating detail, and that's going to give it even more of that 3/4. Now, you can go in, this is just one way I do it, and dry brush in some detail, maybe extend some of these areas, dry brush, now it's wet. This turned into a petal. The thing with roses that I've found is they kind of, you have to be patient enough to let them show themselves to you. To find the little nooks and crannies that you can fill in, like with a little soft triangle that turns into another petal. They kind of, you don't know all the secrets of the rose before you start trying to bring it to life. You have to let it show you itself, right? All right. Now, the center is really undefined, so I'm going to go in with a little bit of that sludge. I always love, like, centers of roses are not white. The centers of the roses are the areas where all the shadow happens because it's more tight in there. So I always choose like a dark, to get a little bit of that in there. And then I might do a little bit of this to accent with that dark in areas, but not too much. And then I'm using the beautiful olive green from my Art for Joy's Sake palette. And I'm going to double dip with some blue, but this palette is really running out, so my blue is really empty. I'm going to just do some really pretty turquoise, press, drag, and sweepy moments. I'm going to go in here again. Beautiful turquoise. Oh, I need more blue to get that turquoise. Oh, wow. And as you're laying down the green areas, know that you can be defining petals. See, like I did there. You could define this one a little more, come around it, underneath it. Still using that 1/2 inch dagger. I'm going to define the intersection of these two petals a little bit. Kind of carve in there, carve up into the petal, and then build a leaf out from it that kind of makes sense. Right? Do I love that? No. So I'm going to do a little bit of that. Do I love that? No. So I'm going to take the blue that I have up in here just to bring it in and kind of interrupt and do like a jaggedy edged leaf. Do I like that better? Absolutely. Gotta play. Gotta be willing to play. Now this space is weird now, so I need to interrupt it with some stuff because it's weird. I'm gonna grab my 1/4 inch dagger and then get some pink on there and some blue. Very, very syrupy color on here, and I'm gonna do some weird. Just a little bit of weird. All right, it's fun. There you go. There's your rose. There you go. So pretty. You missed the teapot? Here's the teapot. I went very loosey-goosey Alice in Wonderland, and it's like a genie in a bottle hybrid kind of a thing. All right, friends, let's just take a look back. We've got our rose. We've got our teapots. And don't forget, by suggestion, these are going to be available on Palm Street next week. I'm going to go ahead and schedule that after this live. There's our fall cottage core. Plumeria. I'm really feeling the love. Can you feel the love tonight, today? I think our butterfly needs spada. It's funny, when I paint in these like longer run series where I'm just painting for hours, my color palettes tend to converge. I mean, this obviously, but actually, can I get a holla? Like if you would have put this in the middle, it still kind of works. Actually, gosh, that sounded like the Grinch. Da, da, da. Grinch, the Grinch. I'm gonna get crazy. It's getting crazy here. There's a little triptych. It works. It's a really weird cottagecore Hawaiian thing, but whatever. You learn so much when you're willing to get weird. I'm gonna do a little spatter because I got a little sloppy, but I I see it as an opportunity. I feel like the chef that's just thinking they're so precise and salting or flavoring something. There we go. And I purposely went off palette because I wanted it to be, notice I didn't use the magenta, I didn't use the blue, I didn't use the gold. I used like a sherbet kind of color, like a salmon corally color, and I like it. So there we have it. There we have it, friends. You like the cottage best? Oh, I'm glad. Really? 2 for the cottage? You like my cottage? Listen to me. I am such a compliment hog. If I were in Palm Street after dark, I would have said a different word that starts with a similar sound. You like my cottage. That makes me feel very good about myself. Thank you for, you know, validating my insane need to be validated. At least I admit it. At least I admit it. Maybe I do want that window here. Getting brave now because I can't really back out of this marker situation. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess it's all right. I guess, oh geez, I'm sitting here, you're watching me paint from a stinking side angle. That's annoying. All right, here we go, friends. It's always a pleasure. You always make it wonderful. Thank you, thank you. I am sorry I didn't get to everybody's requests, but you could pop into Palm Street and I'll get to more of them there. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.